6, 7, 8. Whoa, Luke, I am your father. Wait, here, you want to sound like him? I am your father.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Team Morale Podcast, where we do our three favorite things: talk a little bit of booze, a little bit of beer, and a whole lot of basketball. Ian the Tall Guy, back with you again for episode number 61.
Oh, 61. Dude, we are getting up there. We're like at the point where you start signing up for AARP card or something like that.
Yeah, the Team Morale Podcast has officially reached seniority.
Yeah. Officially reached seniority. We got new equipment. We're getting official. I can feel it.
We're getting more and more professional by the day, while our content becoming less and less professional. That being said, we are 3 weeks in roughly of the NBA season. Each team's played about 7 games or so, give or take. And we're going to start instituting a new thing on our podcast where we kind of we do our opening remarks and we kind of chit chat at the beginning, but then we're going to dive into some news and notes of just what's going on around the NBA before we get into our actual content of the podcast. So Mitch has done the research for our first, news and notes so far. So why don't you take it away?
Welcome to the first news and notes from around the association. I thought that was pretty good. I should do some voiceover acting. All right, so we are going to start off with like one of the biggest quotes that's been running around the media today is Marcus Smart came out and was kind of bashing on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, specifically saying that they have been having a hard time passing out to their teammates in crunch time situations. The way it came out when he was talking about it seemed much more like he's not trying to oust or like talk shit openly about Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. He's like, look, they're young. They're just kind of trying to figure it out right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is coming off a loss that the Celtics had, and it was probably one of the worst losses in the NBA so far this year. They were up big going into the fourth quarter and were outscored, I believe it was 28-9 or something like that in the fourth quarter. It was the first time in NBA history that a team was up 14 points or more going into the fourth quarter and then proceeded to lose the game by 14 points or more.
Oh, that is that is brutal. So that's kind of the preface of why Marcus Smart was talking about them in the post game. Now we're going to jump to our next topic, and that is Ben Simmons. Even more Ben Simmons drama is going on in Philadelphia. Ben Simmons is reportedly not very pleased with how the Sixers have been handling him, and the Sixers have been not very pleased about the lack of communication that's coming from Ben Simmons' camp.
Yeah, today it came out that the Sixers are becoming more and more frustrated with Ben Simmons because he suffered a back injury, and then he said he mentally wasn't ready to play an NBA game. And so the 76ers made it aware and, available to him some team psychiatrists, some team help to help him with mentally and physically with both of his all the issues that he's suffering. Ben Simmons has ghosted them, not wanted to, deal with any of it. So the 76ers are like, we're giving you stuff, we're giving you options here and you're just not taking them.
But on the other side of the coin, we got happy news, not just sad news in our news and notes. Tyler Hero is absolutely scorching the earth right now. He has scored 157 points through his first 7 games. That is the most by any reserve ever in the history of basketball.
Yeah, the guy who's head and shoulders above anyone else in this early season for the Sixth Man of the Year award, and he has looked dangerous. They played the Mavs tonight, and he was on fire. There was a stretch there where he made 3 or 4 threes in a row and just was able to get to the cup while showing, off the bounce, from 3, also a mid-range game. He's a complete offensive player. Still a little bit to grow on the defensive end, and by no means is he in the echelon that he thinks he is with that Luka, Trey, Devin Booker era, but he is the best bench player in the NBA so far this year.
It's funny. I was just thinking about that quote that he said earlier in the offseason where he's like, I think of myself in the same echelon as Trey Young and Luka Doncic. And Now, I don't know if he's there. He's definitely playing like a guy that wants to be there.
Yeah, he came out on a mission, especially today. Now Luca outscored him and outplayed him in today's game, but his team won, and he was a big reason why. And so he's having a great start to the year, and he's a fun player to watch. If you guys have League Pass and have the opportunity to watch a Heat game, they're a very fun team to watch.
Yes, definitely check out some Heat games. But before we get into our main content, let's talk about what we are drinking tonight. Why don't you say it, Ethan?
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see in my face. We are bringing a new type of liquor onto the podcast today, and this is our first vodka podcast. We are drinking Tito's Handmade Vodka today.
Yeah, tonight was a little bit of what's left in the liquor cabinet sort of night, and we ran out of whiskeys. We typically do whiskeys. It's our more favorite things to do whiskeys, but I am a proponent of adding as many different types of liquor on this podcast as we can, and we will judge them all fairly. But tonight we are starting with the very, very popular Tito's Tito's vodka.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's probably one of the more common vodkas out there. It's the perfect like middle shelf vodka. Is it super expensive? Not necessarily. Is it super cheap? Not necessarily. It is the perfect middle ground when it comes to vodka.
All right, so here's a little bit of history about Tito's vodka. This comes straight from their website, by the way. Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. In 1995, Bert, aka Tito Beveridge, his last name is Beveridge.
That guy was destined for greatness.
Obtained the first legal permit to distill in Texas, and that is what he created, Tito's Handmade Vodka. We batch distill our corn-based vodka using old-fashioned pot stills, and the vodka is naturally gluten-free. A little bit about this dude. He went to school at UT, where he graduated with degrees in geology and geophysics. After college, he got into the oil and gas business. He did that in Texas and then found himself down in Venezuela and Colombia. I'm not totally sure what this means, but running heli-portable dynamite seismic crews.
I'm guessing helicopter,
Like-
portable dynamite.
Like
They're just dropping bombs out of helicopters? I don't know.
He's like helicoptering dynamite back and forth. Anyways, he came back to Texas again and started a drilling company in Houston. Eventually got tired of, quote, chasing the buck and decided to move to Austin when he got the first permit ever and started distilling, or first Texas liquor permit ever and started distilling Tito's vodka.
Yeah, it's award winning on the back of their bottle there, the unanimous double gold medal winning of the World Spirits competition. And on the back there's a quote from Tito, and it says, in the mid 90s, I drew a line in the middle of a piece of paper to define my passion. On one side I listed the things I was good at, on the other side the things I love to do. In the intersection of those two teams was making vodka. So I followed my passion and built my own distillery with the first functional legal distillery in the history of Texas. A few decades later, we were making vodka in the same place we started, at the same attention to quality, still taking to the heart the run of the nectar, which I'm guessing is some sort of quote of something. But to us, handmade means we cook each batch until it's smooth and delicious, just the way I like it. So, and then it ends with we do it with all of our close friends. Enjoy.
So he made a tea bar like sheet, and like a pros and cons sheet.
Yeah,
basically.
pros and cons list, and it was like, what am I good at? What do I like to do? And in the middle was making vodka.
Came down to, I'm rich and I love getting drunk. Let's make vodka. Love it.
And so we don't have enough hair on our chest to drink vodka straight. So today we have one glass each of it with a mixer. I'm using lemonade. Mitch is using Sprite.
No, this is a full glass of straight vodka.
And then we also have like a little shot for when we taste and we do our taste, analysis. We have an actual, if we are going to drink it
we are
straight,
going to attempt to get
flavor out of the vodka. So
and
that'll come later when we get to our halfway point, per usual, when we talk taste. But let's talk. We are well into this podcast, and let's talk about what we're going to talk about today for the podcast. And today we are talking about the panic meter. And the panic meter is something scary. It means that your team is underperforming. And we are going to go through 6 teams that we've, handpicked that we think are underperforming, and rank them between, like 1 and 10. How panicked are you? 10 being like, oh shit,
Sell the franchise.
Hang it up. Like, we are freaking the F out. Like, what the hell? And one being like, we're fine. It's just a bump in the road. We'll get
This
over
is nothing.
it. We'll get over it type of thing. So we have 6 teams. We have 2 Eastern Conference teams and then 3 Western Conference teams that we are going to talk about today. Let's start with a Western Conference team, and we're going to start with the New Orleans Pelicans.
All right. The New Orleans Pelicans. I'm gonna jump right out with my grade, and I am putting them at a 9.5.
Wow.
A 9.5 out of 10. I thought about going to 11, but I thought that would be a little extra of me. So the New Orleans Pelicans are in a pretty horrible situation because they're not winning basketball games.
They're currently 1-6, 14th in the Western Conference. Their last game, they lost by 6 to the New York Knicks.
So they're not winning basketball games. Several of them have not been particularly close. Effectively, everybody is healthy outside of Zion, who obviously is a big minus. But I think that the Pelicans need to prepare for a world that exists without Zion Williamson. I don't want to jinx anybody, but someone was telling me this the other day, and I can see the correlations. He could be this generation's Greg Oden.
Zion Williamson?
Yeah.
Wow. That is quite the hot take.
When I heard it, I was like, it's early. A lot of things can happen. But we are talking about a gigantic dude that has shown to have issues of being able to hold on to his weight, plays crazy, athletic, explosive, and already has a lot of injuries, a lot of problems.
Yeah, and I mean, not to mention the fact that he doesn't want to be on this team anymore.
Yes. Yeah, aside from the point that even if he is playing, he may not even want to play for the Pelicans, which it seems like he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, this team is shooting 43% from the field on the year so far. They're shooting 33% from 3 and only averaging 104 points per game, which is 21st in the NBA. They are just, they're just brutally bad. I mean, they shoot, 17th overall in 3-point percentage at the 33%. So it's about middle of the pack, but they only shoot 33 attempts a game. So teams that shoot it less should make it more type of thing.
In theory.
Less volume means more, accuracy, hopefully, but not for them. This team is just an all-around mess. They got rid of, the Lonzo Ball, their creator, their playmaker, and they don't have anyone to replace him. They brought in Jonas Valanciunas to add spacing around Zion. He has played okay. He's had some good games. He's had some bad games. I mean, this team all in all is just kind of all over the place.
It's all over the place. It has some vets that are here to help you win right now, in the way of Valanciunas, in the way of Devonta Graham. These are guys that you thought were going to come in to make a big impact and play right, fit right in with the rest of the roster and hopefully with a healthy Zion. But obviously Zion is having his own issues. And the young guys that you have on your team, like Kyra Lewis, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like Jackson Hayes, are not panning out right now.
No.
They don't look like they need one or several of these guys need to come and be viable, proven starters, and none of them have proven that.
Yeah, no. Kyra Lewis is averaging 4.6 points per game so far this year on, let's see here, 37% from the field. That is not his 3-point percentage. That is field goal percentage.
Oh, man.
That is brutally bad. Some other disappointments so far. Josh Hart only averaging 9 points. Jackson Hayes only averaging 6 points and 3 rebounds. Jackson Hayes, come on.
Get some boards, man.
Garrett
What
Temple
are you doing?
only averaging 4 points. Herbert Jones has been a bit of a surprise with 6 points. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is averaging 14. Devontae Graham has been a bright spot for them. And then you have Jonas Valanciunas and Brandon Ingram. But you do not have a creator on this team. There's not a point guard.
No,
there's not a point guard on this team right now.
Devonta Graham does his best work being off ball, but also just creating his own shot. He does not create, even when he was with the Hornets, it was one of those things where he popped out of nowhere. So everyone thought he was amazing. He's a 20-point per game scorer, but he can't create for others. He can create for himself. But you need someone to get someone else the ball on this team, and they have no one that can do that. Brandon Ingram has a 30% usage rate. He's just getting shit used out of them, and the team is not good enough around Brandon Ingram to even be competing with other teams.
And Brandon Ingram's already playing 37 minutes a game too.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of wear and tear early in the season for a guy to be 1-6.
Yeah. They are in a weird situation, and then when Zion comes back, they have a whole host of other issues that they've got to figure out along the lines of how does Zion fit with this team? How does he fit with our new head coach? Like, how are we going to use him a lot of on ball like they did at the end of the year last year when he started really playing well? Or are they going to continue to play him off ball like he kind of prefers? They have way more than just one issue. Like fixing one issue just like creates another one almost.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to come in and say. My ranking was also a 9. I'm very, panicked about the Pelicans because you bring back Zion, it doesn't solve your problem of Zion needs someone to get him the ball in his spot in order to score. You can't just hand Zion the ball and say, hey, go get a bucket. That's not how he works. He's the type of guy that you give him the ball in his spot and he's automatic.
Yeah.
But you got to get him there. And there's no one on this team that can get him there.
Exactly. You don't have the Lonzo Ball that can just like loft up the alley-oops to him all season long. And then last thing on the Pelicans here, even if if Zion can't play or Zion wants to be traded or whatever, I think that the Pelicans are like one more bad scenario away from being moved. Out of New Orleans. Like talk about panic meter. Like if your team isn't for most teams, if they're not good, they're not leaving. The Pelicans, if they're not good, they're not going to be in New Orleans anymore.
I mean, they don't have much of a fan base. That city is the Saints city.
It's a football city. Yeah.
They play in probably the worst arena in the NBA. Smoothie King Arena is a dump.
Yeah.
It is falling apart.
Gross.
It is just, it's just falling apart. It's old. It needs to be renovated. And so the NBA, but they don't want to put the money into it because they're worried that they might be moved. And this isn't a new thing. The fear of the Pelicans being moved is a thing that's been going on for a few years in New Orleans. And so that is something that is definitely adding to our panic meter here. Let's move on to our next team. Let's talk about a very underperforming Eastern Conference team. Let's talk about the Indiana Pacers.
Ooh. Pacers got your boy, Rick Carlisle.
Ricky.
As their head coach. They have been healthy for the majority. Like they've got pretty much all of their stars, and their stars being Brogdon, Sabonis, who Sabonis has had a lot of really good games, by the way. Sabonis has been balling out. It's not like he's been playing bad. Miles Turner's been there. I believe Karis LeVert's playing, right?
Karis LeVert has played in 2 games.
Okay, so he's recently back. What about Warren? Is Warren still out?
Warren he's not showing up here on this.
So maybe
I don't think
so. Maybe he hasn't played at all.
I don't think he's played yet. But
so they got a couple injuries at the wings.
If you're the Pacers, you are 2-6. You're 14th in the East. The thing with the Pacers is their roster isn't getting better. This is kind of your roster's not bad. I mean, you look up and down this roster. I mean, Domantas Sabonis, an all-star. Miles Turner, a great supplementary player. Malcolm Brogdon, one of the best distributing just all-around point guards in the NBA. You have Karis LeVert and TJ Warren, some great wings. You have some great bench players in TJ McConnell, Justin Holiday, Torrey Craig, Jeremy Lamb. You have all the pieces here to be a good playoff team. Yet you're the second worst team in the East.
Yeah, it is very scary to be a Pacer right now because you're right. They're not getting better. This is your team. And not only is this your team, but your team is not young. All of their guys are around the 27, 28 range mark. Even Chris Duarte, their rookie who is balling out this year, is 24. He's the oldest rookie ever. So you got a team that is aging, that has had several years under its belt, and in the last couple of years have not been good. They barely made the play-in game last season. They're all getting older and they're not meshing, and the new coach has not inspired something new in them yet.
Now that is where I get to my panic ranking rank, I guess. I'm only giving them a 4, and here's why.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna be way higher than that.
No, I'm only giving them a 4, and that's because Rick Carlisle is a damn good coach. And it takes a while for teams with new coaches to kind of feel their way out. And I'm looking up and down their rankings here. Offensively, they're 10th in points per game. They're not that bad. Defensively, they have a lot to be desired, but Rick Carlisle's defensive schemes are difficult. And so it takes a little while for players to figure that out. Rick Carlisle will get this team going. They'll figure it out. This already is starting to look like a Rick Carlisle team. They don't get a lot of steals, but they don't turn the ball over very much. They shoot a lot of threes, and this team's making them. They're the 9th best 3-point shooting team in the NBA this year. They're shooting the ball very well. So the teams they're playing against, for example, the teams that are playing against are shooting 38.8% for them against them. So the teams they're playing are shooting almost 39% from three. That is not something that's going. That shows me they're playing a lot of hot teams. They're playing against teams that are playing very well and shooting the ball scorching. So mix that with some bad luck, a new coach still trying to figure it out. They still have only had Caris LeVert for 2 games. They're still waiting to get TJ Warren back. This team, a slow start. Don't get me wrong. They're on our panic meter list. So if you're on the list, you're a little worried. Your panic is there. But I don't think you should be like, oh my God, I am freaking out type of panic.
I think that's totally fair. I don't know why. I guess because of your hatred for Carlisle, I thought that you were going to be a little higher than.
I don't hate Carlisle.
You're just disappointed in Carlisle.
I'm just sad about Carlisle.
I had them at a 5, right there, smack in the middle. Not overreacting too much, but not underreacting too much. I think that this is a team that is aging, that has had a lot of years and hasn't really done a whole lot with it. It has other things outside of just this bad start that can be cause for concern. That being said, a lot of their like losses have been really close. I mean, they lose to the Hornets by 1. They lose to the Wizards by 1. They beat the Heat. They are the only team to beat the Heat so far this year. That's got to count for something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they fought against the Bucks. Losing to the Raptors by 18 is a tough scene. But you only lost to the Nets by a few. So it's like a lot of these games, you only lost to the Raptors by 3. It's like they are in and close in a lot of these games. They have just got to start figuring out who's their go-to guys to close out the game.
And they got to get healthy. They got to get some guys back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
get Warren and LeVert is back.
And get those guys, into the system. Because that's, again, the only way you get used to a new coach's system is by playing games in the system. And the guys being hurt, it'll come around. This team will come around. Will they be a playoff team? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It might take a little while, but will they be the worst or the second worst team in the East? I would be shocked.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think that we're
laugh a little bit, Carlisle. Anyways, let's move on to our next team here. Let's bounce back to the Western Conference. Let's talk about the defending Western Conference champion, Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, not exactly the start that you would want coming off of what has got to be one of the best seasons you've had as a franchise.
Yeah, they are 2-3 right now, good for 10th in the Western Conference, and they've had some bad luck overall, but overall they have struggled. They have not shot the ball well. They are the 26th ranked 3-point shooting team at 31%, which is not good. And they only average 105 points per game while giving up an average of 110 points per game.
Do you know if they take the least amount of threes out of anyone in the NBA? They take 9 per game.
No. That they make 9. They take 29.
3.5. Oh, you're right.
They take 29, but they only make.
So
9
they
a game.
make
they make 9 threes a game.
So they make the least amount of
brutally
threes.
bad.
I was like, how do you only shoot 9 threes a game?
Yeah, that shows in their Devin Booker shooting 28%. Jay Crowder shooting 22%. Cameron Payne shooting 16%. I mean, and Devin Booker is shooting 28% on 6 attempts a game. I mean, they do have some guys shooting well. Chris Paul shooting 41, Mikal Bridges shooting 42, but then DeAndre Ayton shooting 25%. Jay Crowder shooting 22% on 6 attempts a game. Cameron Johnson isn't shooting the ball very well at 34%. And then Cam Payne, again, scraping the bottom of the barrel here at 16%.
Yeah, the Phoenix Suns are weird, right? Because I want to say that what they're going through right now might be like their version of a championship hangover. Like they did not expect to make it to the conference finals. It was kind of just like a great run. And so now they come into this season and they have all these expectations like, oh, like we should be like one of the best teams in the West. We proved that we're one of the best teams in the West. And you come out and the West is still really, really good. And the West is kind of popping you in the mouth a little bit right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams are losing to our Western Conference teams.
It's hard. I mean, they beat Cleveland, but they lost to Sacramento. They lost to Portland. They beat the Lakers, but then they lost to Denver. Like it's a lot of, tough games, a lot of close games. And then, yeah, you're right. The gauntlet that is the Western Conference is just brutal.
Yeah. So massively disappointing. I'm going to rank them a 3 on the panic scale.
A 3?
A 3. Because what I would describe this as so far is disappointing. I don't know if I'm necessarily getting like majorly panicked yet. Now the losses have looked bad, and Devin Booker has looked really, really bad. DeAndre Ayton still has kind of got his own like youth stuff that he's still figuring out a little bit. And the only thing that like I'm really panicked about was, oh, we played so well last year and now we're like playing bad. Like what's going on? But my bet would be that the Suns turn this around by the end of the year.
I'm going to give them another 4. I'm going to come in at another 4 here, and here's why. I am a little bit more panicked, and that is solely because of the whole DeAndre Ayton max extension drama, which adds a little bit of contention to the locker room, adds a little bit of, like, what's going on here? Like, why can't we figure this out? Why can't we sign this guy? Which definitely bleeds in, especially how vocal the other Suns players were during the playoff run that they had last year about getting DeAndre Ayton paid. Like Chris Paul said multiple times, like, hey, we're going to get you paid.
Yeah.
And now the Suns aren't willing to pay him. So that adds a little bit of my panic meter to it. But the reason it's low is like they're not going to shoot the ball 31% from 3 all year. They're not going to shoot 46% from the field all year. They have some really good 3-point shooters. They have some really good bucket getters on this team. And the shots will begin to fall. You're just slumping early. Shots will begin to fall.
Yeah, that is kind of how I feel. So we're generally in the same realm. We've been kind of in the same realm for all 3 of our teams so far.
Yeah, we haven't disagreed completely just yet. Just a point or two here or there. But before we move on to our last 3 teams here, let's take a break and try to get some taste out of vodka. Wow.
Cheers, buddy. We're drinking vodka on Tuesday. Okay, so I do have some. How about I read the flavors first, so you even, or do you want to let's take one sip first, one little sipper. How you doing over there?
Don't watch this on YouTube.
We're just tasting vodka. Okay.
All right. You want me to guess?
Sure. Do you have a guess?
I get vanilla.
Okay.
Is vanilla in there?
Vanilla is in there.
I get almost a little bit of floralness, like some like floral, flowery stuff.
Okay, so go away. I don't want to sign up for the
like
it
tastes like true like vanilla bean, honestly.
Okay, so appearance, crystal clear. No, I got that far.
No shit.
Aroma, it smells clean. Like I feel like when you smell,
yes,
it smells like vodka.
It smells like something I would wipe the counter with to kill all bacteria. Thank you.
It's the aroma: white pepper, spirity spice with faint but discernible grilled sweet corn. Did you get the discernible grilled sweet corn?
That's not floral.
The taste: slightly sweet with creamy mouthfeel and cracked black pepper spice. Clean minerality with grain character evident and a faint hint of tinned sweet corn. Aftertaste: slightly hot black pepper finish with faint lingering Brazil nuts.
The hell's a Brazil nut?
It's a Brazil nut. It's a nut from Brazil. Don't fight me.
I will go on record saying I'm not a vodka drinker.
No, you're not a vodka guy.
I avoid it at all costs. I just don't like the taste of vodka. That being said, if I had to choose a vodka to drink, Tito's would be my go-to.
Yeah, I mean, Tito's is kind of like it's really famous, but it's also specifically famous down here because it's like the first legal distillery and it's become the most popular vodka out of Texas. But the funny thing is vodka just tastes like vodka. It is what it is.
If you asked me at the beginning of this podcast to take a shot of whiskey and like try to discern it, I'd be like, whiskey tastes like whiskey. So I'm sure if we did like a vodka month and we
Yes.
just tasted vodka for a while, we might be able to get some different flavors.
We
But
might get there.
I am not there yet.
I think that's funny because like a giant billboard outside the front of my apartment is Tito's vodka flavored vodka. That's it. I was like, I love that. Like they know exactly what they are because vodka just tastes like vodka. You are right because if we were to taste this, like drink vodka a lot more, because Russians are a good testament to this, you can tell the difference between good and bad vodka.
Oh yeah.
So
I
there's
mean,
got to
if-
be
if-
flavors you can pick out of it.
I mean, and they do have flavored vodka. We need to talk about that. They do have flavored vodka
Get some
out
Pinnacle whipped cream vodka
Yeah,
or
oh,
some
God.
Burnett's. How about
Oh,
a Burnett's episode
That's bad vodka.
where we just die?
That's the bad vodka. But yes, you can taste the difference between good and bad bad vodka. This is the good vodka.
I tried doing the thing where like like with the whiskey, I'll like swish it around my mouth a little bit. I tried doing that and I almost threw up.
I'm telling you right now, I think our social media posts will just be me and your faces after taking
After drinking
shots
the
of-
vodka. It's okay.
If you
I'll
don't-
tell you.
it-
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what it is. It is. It's a. Oh God. It's a 6.5 because it's vodka. It's not. It's vodka. Okay. If we get more vodka on here, maybe I'll become more of a connoisseur. But it's a 6.5. It tastes like vodka. It's good in my Sprite. It's less good by just like swirling around your mouth.
For those of you who haven't watched us on YouTube before, look this episode up because, and then scrub forward to this part if you don't want to listen to the whole thing again. But man, some of the faces we are making is just brutal.
6.5. Where you
Six
at?
and a half. I'm gonna go 5.7.
5.7.
Just because
I love
I
it.
don't love vodka. I don't. That being said, if I were ranking any other vodka, I'd give it like a 2. But this is a good vodka. Like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna finish this off and not make a face. I'm like Shaq. Have you seen on TNT?
Oh yeah.
So for those who haven't seen it, there's a thing on TNT where Shaq took a bite of like the world's spiciest chip.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not gonna make a face. And he ends
This
up,
is
like,
you.
He ends up like crying and like demanding milk. And the crew's like, where are we gonna get milk, Shaq? This is a TV
Get milk.
studio. All right, here we go. I'm not gonna make a face.
Dude, that's like a quarter of a shot. Don't be a pussy. Just do it. There was a twinge. There was a it's the afterburn.
not a face. I didn't
afterburn.
make a face.
The afterburn that got you.
I'm crying, but I didn't make a face.
Okay, we're gonna get scooting along here though.
All right, let's move on to our next team here. Let's talk about a team that that is near and dear to your heart, Mitch. Which Mitch campaigned for this team a little bit, but I think there's a little bit more here than just their record. The Trailblazers are our next team here.
So the team that everyone in the NBA media sphere or Twitter sphere or whatever is has been pushing to trade their star player Damian Lillard. Everybody wants to hashtag free Lillard. And Dame has come off to start this season on the coldest stretch of his career. This is the coldest 7-game stretch of his career, which looks really bad because it's only the first 7 games. So that's like his entire stats.
I'm going to read you these stats real quick.
Man, I'm going to
So
close
the
my
man
ears.
is averaging 18 points a game, 8.6 assists,
That-
4 rebounds.
That's the thing is he finds a way to like still contribute.
3 turnovers, while shooting 34% from the field, so 6 for 18 roughly, and then 23% from 3 on 9 attempts a game.
Yeah, it hurts.
Which is crazy because CJ McCollum is shooting 43% from 3 on 10 attempts a game. So you have one guy who could not be any hotter. CJ is scorching.
Yeah.
40%, 43% on 10 attempts a game. That's crazy. And then you cannot have a guy who's colder on, again, crazy ball. That's 19 threes a game. One guy could not be hotter. The other guy could not be colder.
Maybe Dame is playing the long con where he's letting CJ go off so he can boost his trade value so we can trade him for someone good.
I mean,
4D chess.
that is crazy. Looking at your numbers here, you guys are 8th in the NBA in scoring at 112 points a game. So getting buckets actually isn't your problem here. Looking at the other ones, you don't shoot a lot of free throws. And then you're actually 3rd in the you're 8th in the NBA in 3-point percentage. Even with Dame tanking your stuff, everyone else is going off.
Honestly,
your actual league overall like percentages and like rankings aren't that bad until you get to the defensive end, and then things.
How bad? I mean, how bad is it like league wide rank on defense for some of this stuff?
18th overall. You're 26 in steals. You give up the most assists in the NBA, if that matters. Let's see. Your opponent's 3-point percentage is 40%, so 24th, or 37%. I apologize, 25th
in the league. Okay,
yeah, and you give up a ton of threes. Your opponents shoot on average 40 threes a game.
Well, Harrison Barnes lit us up for like 40 points and like hit like 10 threes on his own.
Yeah, defensively, you're giving up a lot of good looks because your teams are shooting 45% overall against you guys.
So here's the things to be worried about. You're obviously worried about what Dame is doing. You're worried that you're under 500, and you're worried about the way that you've gotten to a lot of these games, in that when you're winning, the wins have looked really good. Like that win against the Suns, like we kicked the Suns' ass, won by like 30 points or something like that. And but then we've had horrible games where we've lost by 30 points, and it's just the absolute inconsistency that's going on. You know, there's a few bright spots. Anthony Simons has looked really, really good. Larry Nance has looked really good. The bench, honestly, is looking pretty solid. But the other night, we were closing the game with Dame, CJ, Norm, Anthony, and Larry Nance against the Sixers. We had 4 point guards on the floor.
That's a coach who doesn't know what he's like. He's just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping.
Well, you know what he's doing? He put the 4 guys that were like playing best, but the 4 guys who are playing best are all 4 guards, and it's like, what are we doing here right now? And so there's a lot. There's stuff to be concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, the losses have just looked bad. I mean, your loss to the Clippers, 86-116.
Yeah,
that's a brutal loss. And then you beat Memphis, which was a good win. You beat the Clippers again, which was a good win. You lost to Charlotte. Charlotte's a good team, but like I feel like Charlotte's a team that the Blazers should beat.
Yeah,
and
that's how
you were pretty handled in that game.
Yeah,
and then they
went like crazy on threes.
Yeah, and then you lost to Philly. But the big thing with Philly is they didn't have Joel Embiid or Tobias Harris
or Ben Simmons.
So
this was the role players of the 76ers beating our fully healthy team.
And so that puts them at 3-4, which is 9th in the Western Conference. And yes, the record doesn't scream panic meter, but their overall situation, I mean, again, where there's smoke, there's fire. Dame says he doesn't want to leave. And so the organization says he's not leaving. But I mean, if they continue to struggle, Dame watch is going to be a definite thing. Mitch, where are you putting them?
Okay. I am going to put the Blazers at a 4. I think we're a 4 on the panic meter. I think that we don't need to be over panicking about stuff. Dame still pledges his undying love to the city of Portland, Oregon. That guy,
as stupid as it sounds,
dude, that dude is the definition of a ride or die person.
He is going down with the ship, ladies and gentlemen.
He is, and I am going down with the Blazers and the Damian Lillard ship the whole way.
It might cost him the Hall of Fame, but he's going down with the ship.
I think he's pretty certainly Hall of Fame at this point.
That's a whole nother can of beans we don't need to open.
Anyways, you still have Damian Lillard that says he wants to be there. You have CJ that is popping off. You have a lot of pieces that came in this year that are starting to look good. The defense at least looks like it's putting effort out there. I think they're still going to run into a personnel problem, but at least you're trying on defense. And your head coach is really well liked by Damian Lillard, but is just trying to figure it out right now. So panicking, yes, but not over panicking. So 4.
I'd give him a 6.
Okay.
And because the reasoning here is you're trying to convince Dame to stay. And yes, he says he's going to stay, but this is the NBA, and players change their minds all the time.
Not Damian Lillard.
As much as you don't want to, you guys are not putting up your best foot in terms of, hey, Dame, we can win here, because you guys made no moves this offseason to help you guys get better. Yes, CJ's playing well. Yes, you know, some of your other role players are playing well, but your problems are still here, which are you guys don't have the personnel to play good defense, and you are living and dying by crazy Damian Lillard jump shots. And if he doesn't go nuclear, you guys lose. And if he does go nuclear, you guys win. And so that's why I put it a little bit higher.
I will say that they've won a couple of games with like Dame being, I mean, they've won 3 games and Dame has been bad. I think he scored 20 points in like one of those games. So we found other ways to win, but yes, I'm with you. We are definitely panicking.
All right, let's move on to our next team here, which would be the Los Angeles Clippers, who are currently, hold on, let me pull them up, 2-4, 11th in the Western Conference. They did win their last game against the Thunder in a comeback crazy fashion. And the thing here that is most concerning is the fact that Paul George is going off currently so far this year. He is averaging 28 points per game, 3 steals a game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists while shooting 41% from 3 and 49% from the field. You've had the best Paul George that you could possibly have, and yet you're still only 2-4.
Dude, he is very close to a 50, 40, 90, 28 point per game, 3 steal start to the season.
Like he might be the hottest player in the NBA to start the year.
He is playing as good as one Paul George can play. He's played this good once, maybe twice before in his career, and we were talking about him being an MVP candidate.
Yeah, you are looking at a guy who's probably been the best overall player in the NBA so far. I mean, he's in the conversation. Even if he's not, he's in the top 5.
Yeah.
And yet you're still 25th in the NBA in scoring.
And
at 102 points per game. And
it's scary because it's like you don't have a lot of like young pieces that you're relying on to potentially pop. Man can definitely pop this season. I think they kind of need Man to take a big step up if they're going to start winning more games. Having Ibaka back healthy someday would certainly help things, but Nick Batum is not making it happen. Reggie Jackson just isn't making it happen. The supporting cast, I've seen a couple of games where Luke Kennard went crazy bonkers on fire for a couple of those games and they won those ones. But outside of that, they've just had a hard time with their rotation guys, and they're not getting young.
Yeah, the others here are not in a good spot. I mean, this is a hard spot for this team to be just because they were in like win now mode, and then Kawhi got hurt, and then it's like, well, we have this weird gap year, yet we still have all these win now players that aren't getting any younger. The part that is surprising to me the most is this team is getting brutalized on the boards. They're 27th in the NBA in total rebounding, which is just brutal. And then they also are shooting poorly from 3, which at 32%, that's 21st in the league.
Yeah, it's a bad combination to not make threes and then also not get any of those offensive rebounds. And that's kind of just your life when you play small ball 4s like Batum or Marcus Morris at your 4s, and then your 5s are Zubac and Hartenstein. And I will say Zubac, I think, is underrated as far as the NBA goes and like the fandom of NBA goes, but I don't think that he's amazing. I don't know if I'm like really jazzed about him being my starting center, and that's kind of where they're at. He's the only real big man. Yeah, Hartenstein isn't that great either.
You have Hartenstein, you have Ibaka, you have other big guys, but Zubac is the only true center on the roster, which is a bit concerning. I mean, another thing to point out here is this team is 6th overall in defense. So they still hang their hat defensively like they have in years past, but they're not making shots. They're not getting rebounds. It's just a clunky, like weird year. So where are you putting them on the panic meter?
I am going to put them at a 7.
Really?
I have them at a 7. I will say going into the season, the Clippers were kind of the team that I vouched for, putting them lower in our power rankings, and I had them lower in our standings because I thought I kind of saw this coming a little bit. I didn't think Paul George would be playing the way that he's been playing, but I saw like kind of a dip in production for this team, especially without Kawhi, and I don't see how they help themselves. Like, you already have a good coach. You already have all the pieces that took you to what you thought could be a championship the last 2 years. You know, obviously sans Kawhi, but Kawhi's not coming back anytime soon. There's a very real possibility that Kawhi doesn't play at all this year, especially if the Clippers don't play well.
And that's where I differ from you, is that I'm giving them a 4. Again, I'm a big 4 this podcast. But the reason I give them a 4 is because Kawhi's not coming back this year. So this year doesn't really matter.
But it does, because Kawhi could still leave.
Your job this year is to basically ride it out, get everyone back next year healthy, and then go for another run. You're in win now mode. You lost your best player. Now you're just kind of like waiting until he comes back. And so everyone here is just like, well, let's win some games. Let's be competitive. Let's put some butts in seats and wait for Kawhi to come back, and then we make our run again.
And that's totally fair, especially if the whole team does run it back, but you're going to need to reconfigure this roster by next year. And it's a lost year inside of this Paul George Kawhi era, which you spent like 10 draft picks on.
Yeah, it is tough in that aspect, but they're coming back. You're going to get these guys back, and it's a perfect time for Ty Lue to basically look at the rest of the roster and be like, all right, this is a trial run for everyone else. I have a year to tinker with the others and figure out where my others are and who my others are and who can we bring in to help when we get Kawhi back, who is here to stay for this championship run that they're going to go on a year from now, and who is going to be leaving.
Yeah. Also, is there a Bledsoe curse? Like wherever Bledsoe goes, they're just not very good.
Hold on, let me look up Bledsoe's stats here just to defend the man or maybe ruin him. He is shooting 35% from the field, 15% from three, and averaging 9 points a game with 3 turnovers.
The Bledsoe curse,
Bledsoe, in his second stint with the Clippers, has been truly horrible.
Ugh. Yeah, that might be a thing, the old Bledsoe curse.
That is awful.
All right, who's our last team?
Anyways,
here?
we have one last team, and I think I would put them as the most underachieving team in the NBA, and that would be the Boston Celtics.
Man, they are in dangerous territory. Very, very dangerous territory. These dudes suck.
I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm a 10.
Full 10?
Full 10.
Full 10.
This roster doesn't work. The Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum pairing doesn't work. Their new coach they brought in, it's early, but this roster doesn't work as constructed. You need to blow it up. Jason Tatum is too damn good to not be competitive, and you need to blow it up. Jaylen Brown's got to go. Marcus Smart's got to go. You got to take this thing down to the studs. By the studs, I mean just Jason Tatum is the only non-negotiable here, and then rebuild from scratch.
So I'm going to put the Celtics at an 8 because they definitely are panicking. They are big time panicking. However, this is still the same core, generally speaking, that was making conference finals. That was good enough to make the conference finals. Now, I'm going to throw this out there. What if there's a world that Jason Tatum is not better than Jaylen Brown?
That might be the world, but Jason, you can get away with trading Jaylen Brown right now as the Celtics. You're not getting away with trading Jason Tatum.
But what if you can get
that
more?
Fan base will form a mutiny if you get rid of Jason Tatum.
What if it's like, okay, like you could get, say a Damian Lillard, but we're not trading him for Jaylen Brown, but we'll trade him for Jason Tatum. Are you thinking about it?
No.
Not really?
Even a little bit. No.
Not even a little bit?
Not even a little bit.
Interesting.
No. Because I don't think a core of, Damian Lillard and Jaylen Brown will get us to the Eastern Conference Finals, and that'll help us, in the next 3-4 years. But Jason Tatum is going to be the face of the NBA for the next 10 years.
Yeah, he definitely.
He's going to be one of the best players in the NBA for the next 10 years. Jaylen Brown might be, but Jason Tatum is going to be.
Yeah,
that's where if I'm the owner or the GM of the Celtics, I was like, I can't. That guy's again. I will have fans banging down my front door if I trade Jason Tatum. Now, Jaylen Brown's a different exception. And looking at their numbers, it's very interesting. They're the 4th best offensive team in the NBA this year. And I didn't say this at the beginning. They're 2-5, 12th in the East. They are the worst defensive team in the NBA this year. They give up 119.7 points per game.
Wow.
Dead last in the NBA.
They've got some good defenders on their team.
Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, all good defenders. Al Horford, all good defenders. They are the worst defensive team in the NBA this year.
Man, I that makes me wonder, is this potentially a coaching thing?
They foul the most in the NBA this year. They foul 22.3 times a game.
You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like a frustrated team. Like you start fouling a lot when you're getting really frustrated about how things are going. I'm with you. I kind of think that you need to start ripping the studs out. I maintain my 8 because at the end of the day, you still have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You got 2 of the best young players in the league, and then you got a lot of good trade pieces outside of that. Now, do they need to rip it up? Probably. Can they ride out this season? Yes, because they have most all of their guys on long contracts. So they're going to end up trading all these dudes eventually. But this is bad. This is not good for these guys.
This team, I mean, and you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown averaging 26 and 25 points per game. So both of them are playing well.
They're putting up 50 together.
They're putting up 50 between the two of them. Their pace is unreal. They're the fastest team in the NBA. They shoot 96.3 shots a game, which is a lot. But they also, their pace is unreal because their opponents shoot 93.9 shots a game, which is the most.
I kind of hope they turn it around. I'm always a big Celtic, and I also really like Ime Udoka, their new coach. I hope that they can turn this around, but my gut tells me is that they are a play-in team. Like a play-in game team. And what happens with that, I don't know. Because they could just be the 7th seed and then fall out of the playoffs because they lose.
You arguably have the best young core in the NBA. You have 2 all-stars under the age of like 25.
And it's not working.
So I mean, it's early. You're 7 games in, but if you get to, the 10-15 game mark and you are not better, then hang it up and start shopping people. You
can't just start trading that soon.
You can start shopping people.
I think
you might not have to shop Jaylen Brown, but you can start shopping everybody else.
I think what you probably do is you wait most of the season, and then come trade deadline, you make a couple of moves to try to salvage the season, what is left of it, and then come the off season, that's when you make all of your big moves. And this will be Brad Stevens, like, not his first, because he was hired at the beginning of this year, but that'll be his first like real offseason of being it all him and no Danny Ainge.
And that's the other thing that I'm going to mention here, which is a tough spot for Ime Udoka. And I've said this before on the podcast. Imagine you come in, you get this new head coaching job, and the guy you replaced is your boss.
Yeah.
That guy's breathing down your neck the whole time. Like, he knows X's and O's. He might not agree with your X's and O's, and he's your boss. But his X's and O's also failed.
It's a good point.
And so that whole dynamic to me makes no sense. I'm sure that, their whole dynamic makes sense, and both, people are happier where they're at. But that whole, like, I replaced you and now you're my boss, but now I get to make decisions on the court, but you know about making decisions on the court, but you are all about personnel, but I also have to deal with your personnel. That whole dynamic is ludicrous. That's the way the Boston Celtics decided to handle it.
We'll see how it works out.
It's not working great.
I
can tell you right now, it's not working great.
We are very early into this whole thing, which I think is a good preface for everything we've talked about today. It is still very early.
It is early.
It's really early.
We are talking panic meters, but it is definitely early.
And so it's always fun because this is totally panic mode. We joked earlier, a couple podcasts ago during the preseason, where it's like we are in like lovey-dovey fantasy world where every team can still in theory be good, and like every team can still make the playoffs. And now we are in the 7 to 10 games where you had enough to watch of your team to start evaluating, but not enough to know exactly what they are. So now we are in the panic mode, which is a perfect time for our Panic Meter podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We will be back with you guys again next week with another fun topic. We'll bring back with some more news and notes, but we'll also have some fun things to talk about along the way. Shout out to Tito's Handmade Vodka out of Austin for joining us today. Our first vodka podcast.
First vodka podcast.
Yeah, which is...
We'll see if we do more. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We're more of whiskey boys.
Check out our Instagram for some fun faces of us trying to take sips of vodka and taste it, because I don't believe vodka is made for tasting. I think it's made for other reasons. But thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you guys next week. Cheers.
Cheers.